All right,
from
thank you.
someone.
Thank you, everyone. Just so everyone knows, we are recording this meeting. We will be sharing it via Zoom, hopefully by next week. But I just wanted to welcome to our DELN members to our January meeting. We will be focused today on the 2026 legislative session. But if you are here also for other topics, we will have some breakout rooms towards the end, hopefully if we have time. Um, I wanted to, before we get started, we don't have well, how many people do we have on the call today? I can't see everyone. I was hoping, because sometimes we have new folks joining. I know a lot of faces are fairly familiar. But what I wanted to do and what I was hoping to do was maybe if we could just go around and our name, our title, and the organization we work with. We don't have to right now give a deep dive into exactly what our organization offers, but I'd like everyone to be as familiar with each other as possible. So I will give my introduction a little bit later, but what I'll do is I'll just kind of maybe call on the first person I see on my screen. And then if you want to toss it to the next person who hasn't spoken, that would be very helpful. So the first person I see is Will. Will, would you come off mute and introduce yourself?
Or good morning or good afternoon. Will Booth, Executive Director at Creating Pathways, and also the co-chair of the Digital Equity Forum's Public-Private Partnership Work Group.
Does everybody hear Will? I'm not hearing him. Can you guys hear him?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Let me maybe there's something wrong with my audio. Okay, you go ahead, Will. I'm sorry to interrupt. It might be my audio. I apologize.
I just changed mics. Is this any better for everyone?
Still sounds good.
Okay. So again, Will Booth, Executive Director at Creating Pathways and the Digital Equity Forum. Angela.
Hey, love a popcorn. Hi, y'all. My name is Angela Benson. I'm the Senior Research Associate with Inclusive Data, and I'll pass it off to Jessica Hilper.
Thank you, Angela. My name is Jessica Hilburn. I'm with Evergreen Goodwill. I'm the Digital Equity Manager. And Leslie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Les Howell. I'm the Education Director at Computing for All, and I'm going to tag Chris Webb.
Hi, Leslie. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris. I am the Internet Access and Digital Equity Research Team Leader for Black Wellness Research, and I'm an IT professor at Seattle Central College. And I will pass it on to Delia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Delia Burke, and I'm a digital equity advisor with the City of Seattle. And Keely, you're up.
Thank you, Delia. Hi, everyone. I'm Keely. I am the Recycling Partnerships Manager here at PCs for People, Washington. And I will pass it over to Sabrina.
Thanks, Keely. Sabrina Roach, I'm the volunteer chair of the Digital Equity Partners Coalition, and working with Rip Gregerson on the bill we'll be talking about today. And let's see, Leslie.
I went. You gotta.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
John Morrison Winters.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me. I'm John Morrison Winters, Digital Equity Program and Broadband Manager of the City of Seattle, Seattle IT. And let's see, Ndudi, have you gone yet?
Not yet. Hi, my name is Ndudi Chuku. I'm the Executive Director for Mission Africa. And I'll pass it on to Samba.
Hi, Nadudi. Haven't seen you in a while. My name is Sam. I'm the executive director for the Cambodian American Community Council of Washington. Good to see a lot of you. And I just see David just come on, so I'll pass it on to David if you're ready.
Hey there, getting ready. Hey, everybody.
Dave Keys has just been part of the DELN and working on the legislation. If I'm supposed to hand it off, I
I think you
just
you
tuned in,
hand
so
off
I
to
don't
the
know
next
who's.
person. Yeah.
I'm turning it back to you, Sam.
Um,
I can choose if you'd like. I think I
Thank you, Catherine.
yeah,
Yeah, why don't
if you join late, you wouldn't know. Stephanie, have you had a chance to speak yet?
I have not. My name is Stephanie Dewar, and I am with the King County Library System, and my role is the Digital Equity Coordinator. And I'm sorry, I also don't remember. Oh, Christina just signed on. I will pass to Christina. We're doing a name, uh, organization we're with, and title.
And I know Christina might be indisposed. I think there's a big event going on at the library today. So Sabrina, I'm sorry, Christina, if you get a chance later, please feel free to give your intro. But for now, let's go to Lydia. Uh-oh, Lydia, you're still on mute.
Okay, let's try that again. Hi, I'm Lydia Kinsella. I am a government representative with Astound Business Solutions.
And Suna.
Hi, I'm Suna Garol, and I'm totally new here. I am here just as a volunteer.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
I see a couple people have joined on phone. If you're able to, there's one ending in 9617. If you wanted to come off mute and give us an intro.
Hi, hope y'all can hear me. This is Nadia Brown calling from the Seattle Public Library in transit today. I am a part of the Outreach Hotspot program and the Outreach Program Management. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Okay, and the other person on the phone is ending in 2066.
Hi, I'm Nancy Chang. I am with Creative Economy Finance Network and have been a cheerleader of you all, so here to help.
I think that is everyone, but if I am mistaken, please. Oh, Morgan, have you gone yet? I don't. Did he go yet? No? Okay.
No, sorry, I didn't. My Zoom is deciding to absolutely hate me this today. But hi, everybody. This is Morgan Costello Hostetler, Regional Impact Manager with PCs for People. Am I supposed to give anything else in my little intro? Great, awesome. Great to see everyone.
And thank you
Actually,
everyone for
Morgan,
taking the time today to introduce yourselves. So sometimes this hour is we have a national audience, so it's much larger. We don't have time to do intros then, but when we have a smaller group, I love to, meet new faces or hear new voices, however you're joining, and kind of have everybody learn a little bit more about where the organizations you're based at. So why don't I jump right in and share my screen one more time. Okay. Okay, it was my monitor that was giving me sound issues. So I'm only on one screen now. So if I'm missing a chat, please call it out for me. But I just wanted to do a quick overview of today's agenda. As you can see here, we're going to be spending a lot of time focusing on the legislative and the legislative session and advocacy updates. There's a lot to go over. If we do go over the time allotted here, it will eat into our breakout room time. But if we have time towards the end of the call, I'd love for everyone to jump into one of the two, either more discussion about the legislative session or just a general discussion, learning more about the programs you offer, if there are any updates, just general sharing. Perfect. And if you are new to DELN, Our mission is to leverage collective knowledge and resources to advocate for digital equity, share best practices, and build system capacity towards towards inclusion in the digital world. We advocate, we offer learning and professional development, we develop and curate resources, and we convene practitioners across the digital equity ecosystem to strengthen partnerships, share resources, and build a network that supports digital inclusion and equity in our region. Okay, we're gonna jump right in here, and you were able to meet Sabrina Roach briefly. She is the chair of the Digital Equity Partners, which is a statewide coalition. And Sabrina, I will go ahead and invite you to speak here, and I'll be sharing some information in the chat as we move through. Okay.
Okay, as many of you know, Digital Equity Partners Coalition is a grassroots coalition, and it's evolved out of the working group back in 2020, advising Representative Gregerson on an effort to pass a Washington State Digital Equity Act. Together, we built a grassroots, I don't know, muscly, scrappy effort and got the bill passed in 2022. So the bill this session is what they call in the legislature a trailer bill. It comes after establishing legislation like Washington State's first Digital Equity Act. And it's an opportunity to do technical fixes that, because we've been trying to implement that State Digital Equity Act for a few years, these are some things we've seen that needed to get addressed so that we can all do the work even more effectively and with strong accountability measures in place. Any questions about that part? Just sort of like what this is, like where we are right now. I don't think I see any hands. Okay.
Sabrina, I have a question. This is Jessica. Would you say that right now this House bill has a bipartisan support?
I would say that representatives from both parties participated in the Digital Equity Forum. And the Digital Equity Forum is the advisory group that's in state statute, has a budget, is facilitated by now the broadband office, broadband equity group. And so, yeah, definitely both parties participated in the forum and have since it was started. And when they could, they participated in the working groups that developed recommendations. And some of those recommendations, Rep. Gregerson was able to incorporate into this bill. We filed the Rep. Gregerson as prime sponsor and Representative Cindy Ryu as her co-sponsor, filed the bill late last week. And then we worked hard to get co-sponsors. So we did invite both parties, representatives from both parties in the House, to co-sponsor the bill. And currently, only Democrats are co-sponsoring the bill. There's 9 of them, which is a good, strong showing, healthy. When I was in Olympia on Monday, following up with representatives and working on confirming their support, I was able to talk with a couple of Republicans who support this digital access work. And I know I'll be following up with them. The legislative session, as some of you may know, is a great time to build relationships. and to build relationships in person. Like I know it's a many-hour drive for me to get to some of the districts, legislative districts represented by some of the Republican folks. So during session, they're in Olympia. So I'm really looking forward to that. And if any of you want to also do some of those meetings with me, I would love to hear from you on that. And then I think the second note is that in the Digital Equity Partners Coalition work, we're working with folks in multiple regions across the state and in three of the other regions. So like Digital Equity Learning Network is like one of the regions. And then there's like several other regions that have consistent participation. And those regions do have Republican legislative, Republicans representing, um, uh, yeah, those elected spots in those legislative districts in a lot of those places. So one of the reasons why we made the February 12th Digital Opportunity Legislative Day virtual and in person is so that folks who maybe can't drive across the mountains right now because snow or because of their time can also set up, just have some support in setting up meetings with their representatives to talk about the urgency of this bill. Is that helpful? Jessica's giving a thumbs up, which is awesome. And thank you, Chris, for some thumbs up. And one thing I do want to very directly say is that although there is not money currently part of the ask for this bill, legislators have been very clear. This is not a session to create new programs, to ask for bigger chunks of money. But it is a good session to fix things that can help the work be more transparent and effective moving forward. So I think of this as an opportunity to fix the leaks in the bucket right now, so that that bucket is ready for money in the future, like the 2027 session. And then a couple years ago, Rep. Gregerson created an account with the state that corporate and philanthropic dollars can go in that account and get distributed through the Digital Opportunity Grant Program. And so I know I really want to make sure that that grant program, that we've learned from all of our experiences, and made those adjustments and fixes to that grant program so it's ready to go.
Sabrina, I
Will.
see Will. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. All on board to be there in person on the 12th. Since Rep. Gregerson is my LD rep, I don't think I need to go talk to her about this, but is there any way to like partner up with other LDs or talk with those other representatives? Because yeah, going to talk to Rep. Gregerson is going to be, kind of preaching to the preacher. So
Yeah. Well, Will.
Or I can also accompany anyone else that maybe just needs a hand to squeeze or a shoulder to punch while you're trying to talk to the representative who's not really listening to us. But whether they be Democrat or Republican or independent or green, purple, I don't care.
This is definitely a really good time for peer support, to connect folks who have some experience in going to Olympia and testifying or just doing these, 15-minute meetings with representatives or their staff, things like that. Yes, a really great time for peer support. So Will, thank you. Thank you for offering that. And then also, when it comes to constituents talking with their electeds, you can, that legislator can be from your district where your home is, and it can also be a district where you work. that's a legitimate way to talk about it. And will, in my understanding of the geographic scope of your work, that would be something for us to talk about as well in your situation. Yeah.
That's a good point, Sabrina.
Mhm.
Okay. Sabrina, would you like me to share the one pager, this current draft of the one pager? Would that be helpful to talk through at this point, or?
Yeah, it could be, yeah. And also share it as a PDF maybe in the chat so folks can access it.
Okay. Yeah, and I will share it as a PDF. And to note, I want to make sure everybody understands that a lot of these updates are coming like in real time, and sometimes things are happening like even during this meeting or just before, right? So I will share the PDF, maybe not in this meeting because I don't have a location for it yet. But I'll screen share right now and then make it available as a resource afterwards. And the intention is to also add some branding. It's something that you can leave behind during your meetings. It's something you can use to speak to your legislators as well. And before I share that, Sabrina, I wonder too if as far as like advocacy training goes or preparing, if we might consider like a mock, meeting. So people who haven't participated before can understand what that might look like, right? Because I think it's one thing to talk about, uh, these points or talk about a meeting. It's a different experience to actually speak to legislators and um, how that feels and what that looks like. So just a thought.
I want in the survey, the interest survey in the chat. This is the link to share your interest in being part of this effort. And that can look so many different ways. So that's this link. And now I will also give you the link with a name for the link, participation survey. Okay, overall, this bill creates definitions or clarifies definitions and state goals for broadband access and adoption. It adopts the digital equity plan, which was funded and approved by NTIA, also known as the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. So NTIA is within the Federal Department of Commerce, and it's where the money is administered from the Federal Digital Equity Act that was passed, that David Keys on this call worked with Patty Murray's team to draft, and it included grant money for state capacity building. So it was money to create a digital equity plan in the state, and then the state, the broadband office specifically, had to submit that to NTIA, and then NTIA had to approve it to open up the money, to unlock that money. And that was 15.9 million, December, a whole year ago. And regrettably, that 15.9 million is part of the overall 53 million our state is currently not getting for digital equity work, as the federal administration declared it unconstitutional, mainly because the digital equity work is recognizing digital inequities related to structural racism. So this bill adopts that plan, and then it also has a provision for an updating cadence for the plan. And I'm blanking on we arrived at every 2 years or every 4 years. David's on the call and could say. It also improves outreach about low-cost internet options and the tracking of plans available. If one of our goals is free and low-cost internet for folks who might not otherwise have access to it in our state, we need to be tracking it. And that's what that's about. So strengthening the Digital Equity Forum means expanding what it can do. Like right now, it can just make recommendations to the legislature. But if this bill passes, it can also comment on, a proceeding at the Federal Communications Commission. It could write a letter to the Attorney General, asking Attorney General Brown to pursue that $53 million. Like right now, you might remember from the summer, a Digital Equity Partners letter doing that, which is one thing. That's a grassroots entity outside of state government. But the Digital Equity Forum is in state government and would be really, I think it carries a certain weight, or could build to a place where it carries a certain weight. Now we get to the grant program. So the Digital Equity Opportunity Program, that's been in statute since 2022, but it has gone unfunded. And we haven't been able to figure out why it kept on being unfunded, because it's a grant where entities applying around the state can apply for funds for any kind of strategy and tactics program design that's a really good fit for the unique needs of their community, not necessarily for a digital navigator program. These changes, again, increase transparency, geographic diversity, local approaches, and capacity building for evaluation and exchanging best practices. So as groups apply for funding for programs, what they learn can be something that we all learn from as we build. In some contexts, I think of digital equity as like a digital justice movement effort that we're building, as well as it's a professional field and sector where we're building out. And to do that, I think it's really important that we share information with each other and promising practices, share what's working or not working in our local experiences. And with the Digital Equity Partners Group, we try and facilitate that learning. It would be great if a state grant program also had those mechanisms. And some of that is based on the City of Seattle's Tech Matching Fund, which has run for a very long time. And some of you and your organizations might have applied for that funding in the past and have an understanding of that. It includes like a specific shout out about generative AI literacy, safety, and security skills as eligible expenses. AI is, and certainly online safety is being talked about in the legislative session. We wanted to like highlight that that's in here too. Again, a measure for transparency and guardrails, accountability guardrails. This bill creates this, this part of the grant that requires applicants to provide evidence of local partnerships. And that was a recommendation from Digital Equity Forum, as well as from others. We heard that again and again. I worked in the Governor's Office of Equity last year as the state digital equity analyst, and we produced a series of regional digital equity coordinating sessions, and that came up again and again. Over the last year, a lot of us have learned more about the regional coordination of digital equity support services, if you will, the regional coordination of resources that's been growing since like 2023 when the state last invested money in supporting the broadband action teams, various parts of the state, and the broadband and digital equity community action plans. There hasn't been funding since 2023 to strengthen the regional work, but for sure, there are folks doing regional work that is very strong and is getting so much great stuff done. So, in recognizing that and how that might need some support or could be eligible for support, that's part of it. We also know that, there's this part about enabling directories of digital equity program services, community needs assessments, and tracking of lower cost broadband offerings. All of that is, again, those core elements, like core pillars of an ecosystem. When you get these things going, you can, impact can be much more exponential and really just less expensive because you're being efficient and you're coordinating resources. All right. I think I know I'm finished reading things off a screen to a black square on my screen.
When you're just this may be a dumb question, I'm not sure, but you're talking about upgrading or changing up the grant possibilities. What grant are you speaking of, or what possible grants might there be coming?
Yeah, so back in 2022, when we all got the Washington State Digital Equity Act passed, it had two grant programs in it. Neither of them were funded. One was an earlier version of this digital opportunity grant. And the other one was about local planning, funding like participatory methods of doing local planning. Those were given more points in that situation. Yeah, lots of planning. So with this bill though, we are focusing on the digital opportunity grant program, strengthening it. So it can be used also for planning. If you want to run a participatory action research planning project in a certain location with specific folks trying to figure something out, you can do that with that money, but you can also use it for a digital navigator grant, a digital navigator program, or a program where you're cross-training local frontline workers in digital navigation. You could also use that money for a community-based Wi-Fi project, creating a mesh network over Centralia. You could do that with this money. All of that's allowable, and it is spelled out in much more detail in the bill. And I'll just put the bill page here in the chat. It's flexible. It has guardrails for accountability. It's much more rigorous.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it looks like maybe David put the bill up. Is that what you did, David? The one that Sabrina was talking about? The bill page?
Oh yeah, David was
Yeah, I put it up and then Sabrina, you put the House committee sign in there.
Okay. So that's separate. Gotcha. Sabrina, I'm gonna go ahead and share the slide with the important dates. You want to talk through that?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Sabrina, my other question, do you think this money is is it gonna go through the broadband office? I attended their meeting. I haven't done it, but mostly right now they're busy with BEADS. And I noticed that the governor just appointed a new director. So I seen they have like new teams in the broadband
Mhm.
office. I wonder if it's worth, I think, introduce ourselves, connecting to Joan. I can't remember her name, Joan something, who appointed as the new director over there. So
Yeah, the new director of the broadband office is Jordan Arnold. She comes to us from the Biden-Harris administration, where she was quite senior in the White House, advising and running some really huge programs. Um, I think it's significant, and I'm sharing with you a report that Jordan authored um, and for the Benton Institute for Broadband and Society. The Benton Institute is a public interest entity that, like, their work and their research greatly informs my work. Like, I couldn't do my work without their work. Um, and so Benton hired Jordan to do research on state affordability strategies. And that's what that link is in the chat. And I encourage you to have a look at it because I think it clearly shows that Jordan is very invested in digital equity work and quite conversant in it. So Jordan has good chops when it comes to broadband infrastructure, the wires and the waves, as well as digital equity work. So I think she's going to be a really great partner. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to working with her and also create opportunities for more folks to meet her and work with her. I know that right now she's quite focused um, on BEAD, and because not everyone is getting email alerts about every little thing in the internet connectivity and access world. This is a link to the National Telecommunications and Information Administration's info page on BEAD. And BEAD simply is an acronym for Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to find out what the federal administration has decided to do with that money in the states. But this legislation, this digital opportunity bill, supports that work because as communities get this money to build out broadband infrastructure, there will be even more people with internet access who might need support in building skills for digital use. So might need more support in getting devices to do the appropriate things they need. So that's how this digital opportunity legislation ties into that. Okay. Dates.
Yes.
So this is a list of upcoming things. And as Catherine said earlier, thank you, Catherine, for saying it. It's like stuff is coming at us real fast. Like in this meeting, I'm getting text messages from Rep. Gregerson that mean, it's just the process of being flexible, working with what comes at us, and adjusting. And then I love working with you all because there's so many folks with generous hearts and super skills in this work. And it just makes it so much easier. So, um, yeah, big news came yesterday late. January 20th is our first committee hearing. It's at 10:30 a.m. in Olympia. And basically, when it comes to moving a bill through the legislative process, it goes through a series of committees. And our bills usually start in, well, our ones that are structural, that are not revenue. They start in the committee chaired by Representative Cindy Ryu, that is it's called the Technology, Economic Development, and Veterans Committee. They're really nice, really friendly. most of the folks in that committee support digital equity. So with that public hearing, that committee hearing, a few things can happen to support the bill. One, you can sign in pro to support the bill, and we have a link for that, for signing in pro. And that link is live right now, so you can go in like right now and sign in pro. And that is a step you can take where it doesn't require you to do anything else. It just shows that you support the bill. And then there's two kinds of testimony that happen. One kind of testimony are the featured folks giving testimony for Rep. Gregerson because she is the sponsor of the bill. She gets to have several people talk about why the bill is important and why it needs to get passed now. So those are, sometimes it's like three or four people, plus like yeah. So Rep. Gregerson has me like recruit those folks, work with them to develop like, what are we gonna say? And I love using that as an opportunity to just make the leadership that exists in this field, in this movement, more visible in an official proceeding, because this proceeding is recorded by TVW. It's part of the public record. So it's an opportunity to feed a few birds from one hand. And then the other kind of testimony is you as just a member of the public can sign up through the links that are on the page. And I didn't check the chat for that. Yes, the link.
Yes, and Sabrina, sorry, it's on this tiny little computer I have. It's hard for me to grab things and share.
Oh yeah,
it all.
That's okay. I will.
But and if
grab
David
it.
had, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is the House committee sign in. And really, as soon as I have time today, I'll be typing up directions on how to find this and, sending that out, as well as sending out the participation survey link. This is the time now where, we finally know what's in the bill. The bill's been filed. It has a hearing scheduled. Now everything is set up so that folks can sign in pro on the bill. We can recruit folks to be featured testimony. And then when it comes to folks signing in to testify just, independently, that's one question of strategy. I still don't quite understand whether it's good for as many people as possible to sign up to testify, or if that's something that some legislators call loving the bill to death. Because sometimes it can be too much for legislators to hear directly about the support for whatever reason. Signing in pro, they can never see enough of that. But largely, they know that this is important. They want to know how we recommend getting this stuff done. Will, looks like you have a question.
Yeah, a couple of questions on this. So if, let's say I would like to testify on this bill again and, update with what was done last year type thing, how do I go about that? Secondly, if selected, do you feel it would be better to do in-person testimony or virtual? I ask that because I know I was extremely nervous when I testified in person, but after testifying virtually now for a few times, I seem to be more nervous. But
I understand that. I
I'm
get
actually
very nervous
testifying
about
this afternoon.
testifying.
I'm actually testifying in about an hour regarding the governor's bill. So,
Oh gosh. Um, I find live testimony nerve-wracking, whether it's virtual or in person. A lot of self-doubt comes up for me when I do it. And I care a lot about how people feel about doing this work and testifying. And that's why, an emphasis on peer support and kind of, just to be frank, like emotional support for doing this. It's intimidating. Um, and
I,
yeah.
I
David
think it is
B.
helpful to have
Oh,
people.
sorry.
So we right now, as far as we know, we think we have about 40 minutes total on this bill at the hearing. So that could change, but that's the
Mm.
report from Rep. Gregerson. And and I do think it's helpful for you want to help legislators connect personally to the issue and understand it. So, I mean, personally, I think that helps to be in person. And you don't have to be, you're just a person. You have your expertise of your life experience that you're sharing. So, and I think that matters.
And Will and Dave, I mean, if you end up go I I've met legislature talk. I have not testified. I'm scared too. But I would love to be there. I mean, like I can train to testify it. I mean, but if you want like peer support, just like Sabrina, I'm like let me know. I would, I will, I drove down to like Olympia for events a lot, so like I would be more than happy to go there and hold your hand or be a spirit, to support because I think this, like, no, I think we need to get this, even though we don't get money, Sabrina, but I think maybe set us up to maybe better for next year, huh?
Yeah.
Agreed. I see a couple hands raised. I think Chris, you were first.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sabrina, um, I know in a meeting we had, I think it was last week, you shared some very insightful information about the opposition over the last couple of years in
Mm.
terms of not only the industry associations, but in terms of some of the a particular conservative blogger who has been able to activate a significant network of hundreds of people to mobilize against any bill that, from what I understood, that she is policing in terms of, or they are policing in terms of language in the bill. And that was two words in particular you mentioned, equity and justice, that she is, or they are flagging. Um, and so I was, for those people who weren't in that meeting or who aren't aware of the opposition that we're facing, could you just briefly speak to that for this group so that they understand what we're facing?
Sure, real quick, I can say there are various kinds of opposition this body of legislation faces. Um, the like equity versus conservatives, that's there. It matters that they can recruit like, I don't know, 700, 800 people to sign in con against the bill like very rapidly. We've seen their email blasts. We know that there is software they use to make it super easy for folks. We know they use inflamed rhetoric. Um, and that's regrettable. And the way I personally address that is that over time, building relationships with folks, um, so that they can see that this work is in their interest too, because this is a Washington for all, and I know I want to work for all Washingtonians to get fast, affordable internet and have opportunities for skill building and navigating the internet safely and effectively, right? So that's me. That's what I want. And then the other kind of opposition the bill faces is from within um, within the legislature, like within the Democratic Party, because there are some differences in opinions. And sometimes in closed door meetings where we will never really know what happens, there are some folks who don't want to support this. And that is one of the things that has killed the trailer bills in the past. There you go. And that's why it's important to do grassroots organizing and consensus building and relationship building so we can all get there together, right? Yay. Angela, do you have something?
Yeah, I feel like that segues like really nicely into what I've been thinking about. So I worked alongside the Washington State Library on the Digital Equity Co-Creation Toolkit, and that project was all about like tapping into the communities that are already doing the work for digital equity. And so I guess I have been working with Dr. G just to like keep people in the loop and knowledgeable about like what's going on. We're really excited about the bill and all the changes that support those locally tailored solutions. I guess my question is sort of a curiosity about language and like potential edits in the bill moving forward. Um, I think, yeah, something that we've been noodling on is how to kind of thread more of that language around co-creation into the bill itself, because that's such a like heavy emphasis that we've seen so far. And actually, I'll drop a link to kind of some of the language that we've been thinking around. But I am curious about your perspective on yeah, that process.
Yeah. Um, so so in the planning grant that got edited out this time around, for a variety of reasons, it had some of that in it, and the grant program that is in here. Have you had a chance to read the bill? Okay, cool. Not a test question, but I'm like, all those specifics. Um, I think I think a really awesome thing would be if you can share your red line edits, if you will, of the bill with us. And that might be what you put in the chat. So, like, if you have recommended language, and it looks like you did that. That's what I just opened the document. Score.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a couple of thoughts. And obviously, I know that, maybe some places are frozen and people are like, well, I don't want to touch this again. But just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great question to ask, right? Like, what happens if any of you read this bill language and you think something should be different? And I've got two things for that. One, this bill does these technical fixes this year, and it's really important, I think, to get this passed, right? And we're at a point in the bill development process where some folks in the legislature would say, no, this is way too late in the process. This is locked in language. But if we find a detail that's inaccurate or a disaster, should it get in there, um, there there might be a process for addressing that. I'm not 100% sure. But when it comes to introducing new concepts or yeah, I would just say like when it comes to addressing new concepts and getting new ideas into legislation, that would be a scenario where like I invite you to come to Digital Equity Partners meetings, um, to participate in Digital Equity Forum work group meetings, possibly, as those become available or become members of the Digital Equity Forum. There's an application process. So I would encourage you to get involved. Just get involved. It's a pretty open grassroots process. And I know I'm really committed to relationship sharing and information sharing. Um, I want all the good ideas. Um, and when it comes to uh, I don't know if you put this in here, um, but we did do a lot of work a couple years ago to get was it $250,000 that Inclusive Data got paid to do this work for the Washington State Library. I believe that's what it was. I believe that's the budget item that we were able to get into state budget. So, for several years, we've been building capacity in this work to include participatory elements. And that's about power sharing, and that's about justice. And so when it comes to the steps, like we know it takes so many years to build the capacity for all of that. That funding for that toolkit was part of that process. So I think I just it's an invitation that the process is open and that as more people come into this work, there's just great opportunities to continue advancing that work, continue advancing the participatory elements, like as a philosophical and strategic support for digital equity work, if you will, and then figuring out these concrete ways to make it get through. And definitely you creating this document that is awesomely detailed is going to be super helpful because then we all have something to look at. Okay.
Sabrina and the rest of the attendees here, I wanted to acknowledge we're almost at time here. I do need to stay on longer to just grab things from the chat, so I'm happy to stay on if anybody wants to talk about anything. But I just want everybody to understand that, Sabrina, David, like they're all doing this work voluntarily, right? So they're rock stars and they're working really hard to make this happen. So I think that, any support that we could show as a team would be great. And if you fill out the interest form, we will invite you and block that day if you're interested in participating on February 12th. Digital Equity Partners is kind of the organization that we're all going to be under for this, a statewide coalition. DELN is supporting Digital Equity Partners, which Sabrina is the chair of. So please make note of any future meetings. Digital Equity Partners is meeting again on the 22nd. If you're not on that call, I'm happy to send you the link. And then again, please stay alert for any action items, signing on pro, which you can already do. And remember, signing on pro is not just a one-time thing. As it moves through, we need to be alert and ready to take further action, right? It's not just one and done, right? Okay.